Upwards of 100K anti-Israel agitators expected to swarm Chicago during the DNC. Fox News is like, on the one hand, excited at the prospect of chaos unfolding at the DNC, but also have to be unconditionally loyal to the Israeli state. So they're in this like unique predicament where on the one hand, they're like, oh, it's sick that like there's a lot of chaos going on, but also simultaneously they're like, oh, but also, oh man, anti-Israel agitators. I mean, the type of shit that you're going to hear from definitely Fox News and most likely MSNBC and NBC and others as well. They are going to be straight up Bill Maher on the main. Okay, they're going to be operating with Bill Maher attitudes. Here is Trump, by the way, this past weekend. This is what he said.
If you hate America, if you want to eliminate Israel, then we don't want you in our country. We really don't want you in our country.
Like, what do you mean if you hate Israel, we don't want you in our country? Like, what does that mean? Also, deport where? What are they going to deport you to fucking Gaza or something? Like, what do you mean? It's just insane. What is going to unfold in front of our eyes over the course of this upcoming week will be very telling. What remains of the election cycle. We got like 70, 79, 78 days remaining. You will have a DNC filled to the brim with Democratic Party officials, loyalists, talking about how great things are and how great things are going to be. And there is going to be thousands, hundreds of thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters demonstrating. They might get their ass beat by a brutal police force. This will only continue to grow if the Democrats do not figure out a way to restrain Israel and instead hit the Hillary Clinton lines. They will get cooked. They think, oh man, it's going to go away. It's going to go away. It's going to go away. We're going to be like super brutal. We're going to nip this shit in the bud. It's not going to go away. The more hostile the resistance to anti-genocide protests are, the more resilient the anti-genocide protesters will become. Are you a secret DNC operative? If I was, okay, if I was a secret DNC operative, you would hear very different lines of communication and very different moves going forward in terms of America's foreign policy. Why the fuck are we spending so much goddamn money on our military? Why don't we just use that on our own citizens? Why don't we use that to build roads? Why don't we use that to harden our infrastructure against climate change that is already gutting through all of these red states that refuse to reckon with it? Okay, that refuse to recognize it completely. There's also this situation, which is like kind of lame overall. Like, this isn't even that good. I feel like he used to pose better.
Protests in New York City this week is nothing compared to what is expected in Chicago for the Democrat National Convention.
Pro-Palestinian coalition to march on the DNC is expected to be the largest group that will show up protesting at the convention. Members of that group don't like President Biden. They call him Genocide Joe. They don't like Vice President Harris. They call her Killer Kamala. The group opposes U.S. funding of the Israeli Defense Forces. They got some wins in recent days. They won the right to march within sight and sound of the convention. And just yesterday, under pressure from the protest group, the city agreed they could set up a stage and loudspeakers at Union Park where their march will begin and end.
So here's a question many are wondering about. Will Harris's wild policy flip-flops
already being sent selfies from friends with AOC? Chicago's on fire, baby. Yeah. People have already started storming the streets of Chicago. A lot of Democrats are already there. Uncle Jank is there. I'll be there later today. You already know, baby. I will do content with anybody and everybody, okay? But probably I will end up doing content with nobody because I will be doing content for you. I only serve one master, and that is my community.
To be acknowledged at the DNC convention next week. First, there's her stance on fracking. She made this promise when she ran for president in 2019.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
But now, according to her campaign, she doesn't support a total ban on fracking. Then there's Kamala's vow to let illegal immigrants run free 5 years ago.
I want to know, when you become president, would you be committing to close immigration detention centers?
Absolutely, on day one. On day one.
Fast forward to 2024, her campaign says she promises to, quote, go tough on border security. And what about her push for single-payer health care? This was in 2019.
Who here would abolish their private health insurance in favor of a government-run plan? Yeah. All right.
But this week, a Harris staffer told CBS News that she would not push a single-payer system. And there's her gun buyback backtrack. 5 years ago, she said she wanted the government to confiscate guns.
We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program.
But it's a different...
I hate a lot of this stuff because it's like, it's all the cool shit that she like obviously didn't have any loyalty towards, but like just simply was running on, that she now simply does not run on, which I think she should. Like, can you imagine? Oh God, the main point of contention being that like Kamala Harris wants to give everyone health care. Can you imagine that would be like the major talking point from the Republicans being like Kamala Harris wants to give everyone health care? Oh, that's so sick. Did you guys see Trump fucking talking about how if you vote for Kamala Harris, everyone will get health care? I love that. These guys are so brain broken, bro. You vote for Kamala Harris, everyone's getting health care. A nightmare scenario. Can you imagine how bad it would be for every American to get health care? Terrifying reality, folk.
Beginning Monday, the party holds its convention at the United Center where they will officially nominate Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to the presidential ticket. Organizers there have been busy preparing for thousands of delegates and politicians, as well as protesters.
The stage is set. The security is in place. And Chicago is bracing for the crowd.
So is the city ready?
Yes, we are ready.
Mayor Brandon Johnson says he hopes his city can strike a balance.
And so we're going to protect those individuals whose voices are being heard to make sure that they're safe. But we're also going to make sure that we have a vibrant, energetic, exciting convention that's going to launch, again, a history.
This is the only reason why I don't know what will happen with the Palestinian protest, because like the mayor is pretty pro-Palestine. Will you be a part of the protest, or will you just be sucking off obezi like Obama? My plan is if I see protesters, I'm gonna be like, I'm talking, sweetie. I'm gonna talk to the protesters and be like, sweetie, I guess it seems like you want Trump to win. Sweetie pie. Chat, is he for real? Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. Chatters are so broken. I will never. This is why I have so many fucking haters, dude. Like, in a lot of instances, obviously it's like hard to pick up on my sarcasm, but like there are certain things that I have done leading up to this very moment. Like, I didn't just appear on your screen devoid of context. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't just appear in front of you devoid of complete context. Like, you have to at least know a little bit about my background.
Vice President Harris is set to arrive in Chicago Sunday night after a campaign bus tour across western Pennsylvania. She spent the last several days writing her speech. She'd already been writing one to accept her renomination as VP. Now she'll headline a convention originally intended to focus on President Biden.
Joe Biden is really one of the great presidents.
He's so handsome. He's such a handsome lad, dude. I love him. Big boy.
Illinois Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker agrees with polls showing Harris.
JB, defend the Palestinian protesters, please. Don't hurt my soul like this. I can't. We got big boy solidarity up in this bitch, JB. Don't do it.
Has re-energized their party.
Kamala Harris brings a different angle on the Democratic Party and makes sure that we bring the excitement and joy to the party that I think people weren't really feeling because they felt like we had two older guys who were running against each other.
It's all set to begin Monday night with a tribute to Biden and a speech by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. On Tuesday, former President Barack Obama is the headliner. Wednesday, it's former President Bill Clinton and vice presidential nominee Tim Walz. Thursday is Harris's big night.
Harris has been working on that speech for weeks, expected to be working on it right up until she delivers it. It is, of course, the biggest moment of her political life. As for the Republicans, they are not taking a rest while Democrats meet here in.
Are you opening for Biden or Obama? I didn't see you on the schedule. I'm opening every day and I'm closing every day. They wanted me to speak every day. They were like, hey, Hasan, you are the #1 defender of the Democratic Party. You obviously very clearly have our interests in mind over anything else. You have no ideological convictions that may put you at odds at times, maybe all the time, with the Democratic Party's agenda. And therefore, we want you to always be at the forefront.
And we'll see what happens with the delegates on the inside, whether or not some of them join the voices that will be on the streets of Chicago. There are huge protests planned for the city. There are hundreds of officers from outside agencies that will join Chicago police in the streets. They got protective gates set up around critical buildings, business owners boarding up storefronts in the area.
Talking to Bill earlier about how there's a lot of comparisons to 1968.
Right.
And to go back and read that history and be reminded of things that I'd forgotten is interesting. But I think that there's such an interesting, different new element, and that is the technology, the ability for people to organize quickly.
I think one of the funniest parts about this is that, like, the cops were in the wrong in 68. And, like, historically speaking, the cops were, as always, on the wrong side of history. And the anti-war protesters were, as always, on the right side of history, which is always so odd. Because we're not in 1969, we're in 2024. And it's like you're literally pointing to a fuck up where you were on the wrong side of history back then, only to basically reiterate that, like, we're going to do the wrong thing again. Yeah, hindsight is 2020 is funny because yeah, exactly. Hindsight is 0-0 in this situation. Why aren't there more protesters outside of Republican events? I don't know. Maybe because it's not a fucking Republican administration. It is a Democrat administration. Democrats are currently, as it stands, entirely responsible for not doing the things that they could be doing to stop Israel's genocide. The fuck good is it going to do to have protests outside the Republican campaigns? Like, what do you mean? I was wondering if it was zero expectations from Republicans. What do you mean? What? Like, these are Democrat voters protesting a Democratic administration saying that they will not vote for a Democrat. Also, people do protest Republican shit all the time.